From the Library of Congress and the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture.
You know, it's greater for me.
Well, we'll be able to share a little bit of this visit with people all over the United States of America and the world.
Okay.
You certainly do need to get to know who you are and what you've done. Could you please tell us, for starters, what is your name, your full name?
Gertrude Jackson.
And you know, so much of what we know about you comes from what we've read in the newspapers and heard on the radio, what you did as a wife and a mother and a community activist. But tell us when you were born, where you were born, and a little bit about what it was like to grow up where you grew up.
Okay, I was born in Madison, Illinois in 1923. And later, my daddy moved to Arkansas to take over the farm that when his daddy died. And he came down to Arkansas to take on the farm for his mother. And that's how we got to Arkansas.
How did your family come to be in Madison, Wisconsin? Where did the family start, and how did you get from there to Madison, Wisconsin?
Illinois. Well, I was there. We were in Illinois, you know, when I was born. Daddy had moved to Illinois, and he was working there, and that's where we were born. And then he came back after his father died to take over just an 8-acre farm for his mother. That's what brought us back.
So how many brothers and sisters did you have there?
I had 6 brothers, and I mean, got to count them, 4 sisters.
Oh, can you say that again? How many brothers and sisters?
It's 6 brothers. I have 6 brothers. Let's see, John Earl. 4 sisters.
So what was it like growing up on an 88-acre cotton farm? Did you actually work?
A little, because I was most of the stay at the house and kind of fix down and stuff. But see, at 7 I wasn't going to the field, but it was okay. What was it like growing up there? It was good. It was different. It was so different from Illinois. Just say, for instance, my first year in school was in Illinois. Now, see, in Illinois, I was first grade. Everybody had their own room, you know, and they had a place little room where you hang your coats and things. Now, but when I got to Arkansas, well, first let me back up. In Illinois, I just had to walk about a block to school, no more than that. And when I got to Arkansas, we had to walk 4 or 5 miles to school. And then you get in this school, and everybody is in the same room from the 1st through the 8th grade. And they had little nails on the wall at the back of the room where you hang your coats. And if you took your little snack, it'd sit on the back of the wall. And that was just so different. It was just hard to get used to that. That's what was strange to me when we moved to Arkansas. And the classroom was just one big room, and like 1st through the 4th grade would be on one end of the building, and 5th through the 8th, they was on the other end. And the big heater is right. You all know what a heater is?
Definitely know what a heater is.
You know what a heater is, so it is in the middle. And that's about it. It didn't take me long to get used to it, and, you know, walking, it wasn't bad, but I wasn't used to that. But it didn't take me long to catch on. Okay.
So how many children were in that one-room school?
Oh, it wasn't many at that time. Back in there, no more than about maybe 60.
How many?
60.
60 children in that one room.
Right.
And how many grades?
Through the 8th. So the 4 on back, we was on one end, and the others on the other end.
So how much schooling did you eventually have?
Eventually, I got 2 years in college. Now 30 hours in college.
So, and where did you do your high school work?
Here in Marvell. At that time, Marvell only went to the 10th grade. The high school went to 10th grade here in Marvell. And this is where I got my up to 10th grade. And what you would do, you'd have to find someone to live with. And just Daddy would pay them rent. And see, they had the wood stove too. And we had to furnish our own wood. So he put that wood in the wagon, and he and my brothers bring it up here, kept us wood through the winter. That's the way we kept warm. And I think that's about it. And I graduated. When you graduate, this graduation was from the 10th grade, because that's as far as it went. So, and they had a school in Helena that went to the 12th grade. So that's where my sister went and finished. But at the time I finished, my mama got sick, and I didn't go any further. And then years later, I went to school and got my GED. They was giving people GEDs. And then a few years later, I was working with Mid-Delta, and they sent to let us go to college. And so I just got 30 hours in,
So
early childhood. Okay.
When you were growing up, let's talk about your earliest years in Illinois and then in Arkansas. When you were growing up, do you remember instances of outright flagrant discrimination?
No, I don't. Not. But did you say in Illinois or just all over everywhere?
Well, let's start with Illinois. Do you remember?
No, I don't remember any.
Nothing been in Illinois.
No.
And Arkansas, your early years in Arkansas?
I just noticed the schools, different schools it was different.
Okay, that's great. Now, describe for me the difference between the schools, between the schools that you were allowed to attend and the schools that.
Oh, okay,
what was the difference?
Okay. Oh, it's a lot of different. How can I explain that? We were in this one-room school, like I say, and I've explained that. And then there was other schools. The white school was just beautiful and all together. And the white children rode the bus to school, and we walked. And that was the difference. And one thing that brought to mind, when you say that, we'd be walking to school, and the bus passes. There's a boy on the other side the middle, and he'd be passing by, and he'd say, "Nigga, nigga, 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 nigga." So one day, he was waiting for him. The boy stepped on the ditch, and he got him a stick. So the fellow put his hand out the window and said, "Nigga, nigga." He popped him. And after that, they'd have that window roll up when they'd come through.
So I'm quite sure there were many times when you and your pals, your childhood friends, would go home to your parents and your uncles and aunts and tell stories like that. What did they say to you in response to how you were to respond to that?
To what I just said.
Yeah, when there were moments when people called you nasty names and were mean to you, and you would go home to the adults and say, what kind of advice did they give you about responding?
I never really experienced being something happened at school like that, because I was just me and I didn't meddle.
There was a newspaper report not too long ago talking about how one of your daughters said that she wanted to be white so she could have...
So when I got upset with her, and it's like the Spirit said, ask her why. It came to me just like that. And I said, now why do you want to be white? So we can have some swings and some seesaws and have a pretty school. And you see, if I had cut her off, I never would have known her reason. And she says since she been grown, that was the pretty school. Oh, yes. And we can have some swings and seesaws. Well, see, we didn't have any of that, just a naked ground, just nothing. And of course, we invented our own fun by games and like that.
So the first time you heard her say that, how did you feel?
I felt like white. Why you want to be white? But then after she explained herself, then I found out it wasn't white, it's what, the things they had, so.
Mrs. Jackson, do you think you could tell that story from the beginning?
I was just about to ask that. I'm trying to figure out a way to...
I think that's the beginning, to what I just said.
Yeah, talk about how your daughter came to you, and so everyone at home would be able to hear it from the very beginning.
Oh, I was in the kitchen cooking, and she just standing around, and she said, I wish I was white. And I started, kind of like, didn't like it. I said, well, the Spirit said, ask her why. And that's what she told me. So I can have some swings and seesaws and go to the pretty school. And she said it was the prettiest place. And see, we didn't have swings and seesaws at our school. But to make a long story short, she wanted to be in that pretty school and wanted to have some swings and seesaws.
So how did that story influence your life and what you would do in your life's work?
Well, really at that time, I didn't dwell on it. It just kind of passed through. Because I knew that's the way it was.
So you spent so much of your life in the area of community organizing. What motivated you? How did you get started doing that?
I think the first thing that motivated me, if I can kind of explain the Marvell School District, okay? The Marvell School District covers 20 miles around. And there were a school, okay, we had so many schools out in I grew up in Gumbottom. Somebody else grew up on Coffee Creek, Trinity. There was a school everywhere where it was a church. There was a school. And then the Marvell School District, years later, decided to build a school down there and about 6 of the communities came together, went to this one school. It was a beautiful school. But what happened, after 3 or 4 years, the sewage started messing up. And the sewage was back up in the school. So at first it was just water. And they would come on and say, oh, the bathroom flooded today. And see, I wasn't paying much attention. Oh, the bathroom flooded. And so come on, it got where it got so bad. Everything was flooding out. And the boys had to clean it up. They'd we crossed from a store. The boys had to get the boxes and things and clean it up. So we decided to go to the school board. That's where I got started. Went to the school board to tell them about it. And they would say, oh, they just don't know how to use the bathroom. And so it went on so long. They'd come home complaining so long, so regular. My husband say, I'm going to go out there and see this thing. And so we had gone to the school board for several times, and they just wouldn't do anything, just felt like we didn't know how to use a bathroom and all. And last time we went to the school board, and my husband asked them about fixing it again. Just my husband and another lady, she's passed away. But coming from the school board that night, my husband say, if I could get these people to take the children out of school, they'd fix it. That man got up the next morning and went all through the community and was telling them about it. And everybody agreed to take their children out. And so that's the first boycott, turn of boycott, and what we did. So they went down the next day. This was on a Friday, but come that Monday, my husband went down to the school to see what was going on. He said, well, I forget how many children they had, but 8 or 10 children showed up at school. And so after that, and it just stayed vacant until they didn't go to school at all that year.
Okay. Let me get the time frame for this. What year was the first year that you went to the school board to complain?
You know, I really can't remember. I know my you know, I just don't remember, because, let me see, Cenas went to that school when he was 5. Now, if we could do some math.
We'll figure that out later.
You're right, we'll figure that out later, okay.
Now, your husband went through the community basically knocking on doors and asking parents to keep their children at home.
Right.
Everyone unanimously said, yes, we will keep the children.
And what he did, now, we had this country store. There'd be a lot of men at the store. That's how he reached a lot of them. And then he took them down there and let them see for themselves. And everybody went down and looked. And that Monday morning, they kept the children at home.
And how did the school board officials respond?
Some of them were saying, someone overturned, some of the people saying, somebody need to go there and whoop that Hog Jackson. They called my husband Hog. So somebody need to go there and whoop him. But they didn't bother us. It was fine.
So did they call you in? What happened after that? How did it get to be fine? Did they call you in for meetings or?
Oh no, they just I don't know when we went to court. We didn't go to court for that. But after we walked out of school, and how did that? They send people down, or what happened? They're gonna send somebody down to see, about the plumbing. And so come to see the president of the school. His brother was over the sanitation thing in Helena. So they sent someone down to see how it was when we took the children out of school. And so the superintendent said there wasn't nothing wrong with it. And so we wanted to have it checked. So they called a fellow, whoever you call him, that came out and checked it. And he said, oh, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with the bathroom. It's fine. But see, that was his brother that checked it. And see, Howard was here at that time. And Howard called the sanitation place from Little Rock. And they came down and checked it out. And they made him dig it up and do it over, because it was put in going uphill, and that's where the bathroom was messing up. And they fixed it, and we got back in school. I guess it lasted out.
How long were the children out of school?
I think they were, I remember, I forget what month it was, but They were out like near the whole term.
We'll have to do some.
Oh, sure.
I'll have to get that scheduled.
Great.
Yeah, that's fine. It's a beautiful story. Oh, beautifully
Were there
told.
any stories in the newspapers about it?
No, we didn't. Newspaper never.
We can probably check the Board of Education records.
Yeah, I made a
If they
note to.
did, we didn't know about it.
Okay, I made a note to figure.
And you said your son was 5 years old when he attended the school? He was 5?
That's what I was trying to figure out. No, he was 6.
He was 6, so he was in first grade. When was he born? 19...
See, Nita was born in 1945. Pop was born in 47. I don't mean, what am I saying, 40?
You know, yeah, you are, but
Yeah, that's right.
Is that right?
We can find out.
We'll-
That's right. You can
we'll
go-
find it out.
Find out when he was born,
Okay. You got him.
and that'll give us the year.
Okay.
tell us what you remember about the children talking about the work that they actually had to do to clean up after the bathroom flooded.
Mine was too little at that time to do it, but the bigger boys, the big children, they had to do it. And they talked about it first as just water. I wished I was trying to get a hold of this couple of old boys still living. I wished I could have got them to tell a story about how they used to have to clean up the bathroom, mop up water and all, and get pasteboard boxes from the store to, put stuff in. I wished I had one of them here, boy, because they tell that story.
We'll probably find one. Let's move a little bit forward and talk about your work in the freedom movement. When you first heard that there were people who were doing work in the civil rights arena, what did you think?
You know what? Now, the workers came in. They came into a family, had a meeting with a family here in town. So see, I live 12 miles out. And they came, they say I think we call civil rights workers is down. And they're at Mr. Adams' house, and Mr. Adams wanted him to bring some people in that may be interested. And 4 or 5 of us went to this meeting and listened to what they had to say. And to make a long story short, we got somewhere from to live. The first back up.
First of all,
That's how we went there and talked with them. And then they asked us to go back and get a group together and some interesting people. And we came back and checked with some people in our community, what we called Jones Ridge. And we had 6 or 7 people to meet, and they come down to tell us what they were all about.
let me take you back a little bit. Tell us exactly who Mr. Adams is.
He just a neighbor, farmer. Well, he ran a little store, and he was one of the people that kind of would be, I call a civil rights worker. And of course, I don't know, we hadn't heard talk of anything, but they said, come here. It's a man, somebody here from the civil rights, and he want to talk to us.
And what's Mr. Adams' what's his whole name?
Overtis. Overtis.
And do you remember the names of any of the people that who came from other parts of the country to
Join this? You know, it's about 2 of them still living. Eva Mae Williams. And her brother, I forget his name, but he's a William. I may think of it before we leave.
But so Eva Mae Williams was someone who came from.
Oh, no, she lived in the school district. But she's one that, when we come together to do something about the school situation, because she was the secretary Now,
I'm sorry, I thought I stepped on one of your sentences. I'm sorry. Now, there were SNCC workers who were working in the area.
right.
What do you remember about the SNCC workers? You remember their names, where they came from?
Myrtle Glasgow and Howard Himmelbaum. And so once we got busy, you know, they was here a while before anything we started doing anything, but just kind of got the feeling out, and we would meet, and they'd always have a building full, a church full, to come out and hear what we were doing and what we were trying to do. And after so long, he said, now, y'all do it yourself now, but they would just be there. He didn't want to be the leader all the time. And that's about that.
So, do you remember any other names of SNCC workers?
Nancy Lane, William Lane. So many of them gone because I'm the only one left, so it's hard to think
Talking about
of.
the people who came from out of town.
Oh, that's what you want. Oh, those are the only ones. Those two.
So what was the atmosphere like? What was the mood like when those SNCC meetings were going on here in the area?
You know, it was just kind of nice. And we'd have a packed church every Thursday night. And so we just meet and come on, actually.
So the people who did come from out of town, where did they live? Where did they eat?
Some of them, the first place they lived with my uncle, Howard Himmelbaum. He lived with my uncle. And they had a place in Helena that they stayed. But my uncle kept them for a while until he got nervous because he had a store and his house was right by the store. And they didn't want white folks to see him coming out of his house. So then he moved. He moved way back and lived with my cousin Carrie Davis at that time. But he had to walk like about a couple of miles back through the mud and stuff to get over there. And so we said, well, won't nobody find him back there? Because, see, if he just come out on the porch, open the door, the store's right there, even with the house. And so we didn't want to. Then my uncle got a little nervous about having this white man living with him. He didn't stay with him long, maybe a month. And he moved back down where he couldn't be found and walk out every day. Come by the house, we'd eat and all. I think, and they also had a place in Helena where they could live. Come on, ask. This is in there. Oh, okay. You mean the paper?
What was tell us the name of the gentleman who stayed with your uncle?
Howard Himmelbaum.
Okay. Mm-hmm. What else do you remember about him?
Well, you know, we got so comfortable. One thing we did, we got a little too comfortable with him. And he'd come to the house and eat. They sit around with my children, go out together, you know, where you go to your little cafe, wherever people, and they would go out together. And it's just like, we just got very common with it. And we were blessed that didn't anything happen to us. And I remember one day when they built the Zachary Housing Project, and the president, the what do you call them, who's over the state? Governor, right. The governor came down that day, and a lot of people to show off, you know, they was opening up the housing project. And so Howard was there. So the superintendent of the school eased up to me. Gertrude, who is he? Who is that? I make it like I couldn't find it. Praise. No, that right there, right there. I said, oh, that's Howard Himmelbaum.
Do you remember anyone else in addition to Himmelbaum?
Myrtle Glasgow.
Okay, let's talk about
Just
Myrtle.
those two.
Talk a little bit about Myrtle Glasgow. What do you remember about her?
What I remember about Myrtle, she'd come to the house and they just the same thing. They were just like another one of my 11 children. And just remember her just point something other than coming to the house and sitting around the table with all my 10 children and like I say, just like another daughter. And she would go to the meetings with us and, you know, they would explain different things about civil rights and things like that.
So what did they encourage the people attending the meetings to do?
You know, just stand up and be bold and let's get something done.
And can you remember the names of the people living in the community who stood up and said, yes, we're going to be bold. Do you remember people who actually joined the movement and worked very hard?
It wasn't very many that worked very hard, but most of them was for what we were doing. And then some of them was too afraid. And they just stayed back, but they would come to the meetings and listen. And I can't think of the names of the people, about 6 of them was, standing back, giving us, spinning their ideas and things. And so, but like I say, most of them was afraid. And we knew the teachers was afraid. And we didn't want them to be in the meetings because we didn't want them to lose their job.
What about others who were afraid? How did they explain their fear?
Now, this one man, Sylvester Mackey, told my husband, he said, Jack, I'm for what you're doing, but I can't join. He said, Jack, I'm just scared. I'm just scared. This means I won't go with you, but I'm for what you're doing. And other than that, that's about it.
And do you remember what people said to people who were afraid, to get them to step out of their fear and be bold?
No, I don't remember anybody bothering them. It was just a few that was bold. They was bold enough to come to those meetings. Now, one thing that happened down in my country, Maxine Hathaway was one of the school teachers here in Marvell. And, on Sundays, if we're in church after Sunday school, we're going to say something about the situation. And so different people told her, girl, you better stop going to church. Tell me they having civil rights meetings down there at that church. And so she left our church and went to a church where they didn't meet, came here in Marvell and went to church. And,
so once you became involved, there were moments of, there were repercussions. People did not, white people did not like what you were doing. Mm-hmm. How did they respond to you?
Well, not really. I tell you, one day I was in the drugstore, and the lady that worked at the drugstore, by the way, she in the nursing home now. But anyway, this white man was in there. And I was getting my medicine stuff, and she touched me and said, there she is, there she is, there she is. It's like they was trying to find out who was that's doing this civil rights work. And so that's the only thing that, that I saw.
And did anyone say anything to you once you were pointed out?
No, I guess the fella just wanted to see what I looked like, just wanted to see that lady that's heading civil rights.
Mm-hmm. So do you remember instances of other people having like crosses burned in their yards or gunshots fired?
Old Vertus Adams had a cross. Not Old Vertus. This is way out in the country. I can't think of his name right now, but they burned a cross in his yard. And then John Hamilton, he was one of the leaders. He's one of the big leaders that was with us. John Hamilton and his wife.
What do you remember about the time that the cross was burned?
I just remember about the children. We just excited, didn't know, well, we know what it meant. But my daughter was talking, they was talking some time ago. All we know is when somebody burned a cross in the yard, that white folks didn't like you. So she said that's all she could get out of it. Then she knows some of the reasons white folks didn't like you.
Were there black folks who tried to respond to that in a retaliatory way?
No, we didn't do anything. Just kept going on like it hadn't happened.
How many cases of cross burnings do you know of?
Just two. One in Masco Anderson. Now John Hamilton, he got in the air because he was the main person along with my husband, John Hamilton. Got in the air that, and he lived way back off the road, that a gang had planned in to come and, attack him that night. And so what the men did, it was about 10 or 12 men that met down there with their guns. And because, see, this man is way back, had to go down the field to get to his house. And they went there and stayed all night to see if anybody was coming in. Because one of the boys said, now they come driving down through here, I'm going to blow them away. So that's the incident there.
Let's talk about newspapers for a little bit. Did the newspapers did they write stories about the civil rights activity going on down here?
No. No, we didn't. No, it was never in the news. Now, what was in the news, it wasn't here, but Beatrice, our executive director, she was going to school in Little Rock. And she would read it there. And it was talking about Ernest Jackson. And now she heard some things. She would hear the children sitting around talking about it at school in Little Rock. And
how much how much conversation was there about the activity happening just a stone's throw away in Little Rock? There was a difference.
Say that again.
So the people who lived in this area outside of Little Rock, did they pay close attention to what was happening?
Yes, they did.
What kind of conversations did they have about Little Rock activity?
Well, just discuss the situation, and we didn't. It wasn't very much because, like my children were so little, because I remember they were so little. Because, every time the news come on, they had to be quiet. So this news came on, and they were showing the Little Rock, going into school and the clubs and things. My little girl said, "Ooh, the news good tonight," because it was excited. She didn't know what it was all about. But that's all we saw a few times, when it come on the TV about what was going on. My husband didn't have to say, "Y'all be quiet, the news on." Boy, they got quiet.
So did you and your husband spend any time telling your children exactly what was going on?
Exactly what was going on, yes.
How did you explain to your children what was going on in Little Rock?
I just told them it's just like it's like it is here in Marvell. Whites go to one school, and So now they trying to integrate them and let blacks go to the school. And the fight was about because they didn't want them in their school. And that's why they had to bring down the troops and all these things.
And how did your children respond to that story?
Well, kind of like they already knew, because it's just like it was here, you know. You see what I'm saying? We were going, the whites was going to the big school down here, and we was going to the little chicken coops.
Tell us about a moment when there's an issue about the county fair.
It wasn't really an issue about the county fair, but this is the way it happened. We decided to boycott the school. And so Reverend Anderson, the man that they burned the cross in the yard, he's at the meeting. He said, I tell y'all what, we're gonna, since we boycotting the school, let's boycott that fair. And they said, yeah. And let's come boycott the fair. And another thing about the fair, the superintendent, you know, AM&N College in Pine Bluff, there's a black college at that time. The superintendent, the choir from AM&N College was coming down to sing at the choir. And we heard that we were in Little Rock at this trial about this boy. You know, we had to go to trial, we had to go to court. So we were in Little Rock. So Mrs. Hamilton, on our way back home, she said, let's go by that college and tell them don't come down to sing, because we boycotting everything. So we went by and talked with them, and the superintendent was out of town. They said he would have to change it. We can't change it. But anyway, they came on down to sing. And then I got another lady that we said, let's go up to the fair and see how it's going to come out. So we went to the fair and just parked out in the ditch by the fair. And it worked. People didn't come. I saw some little children come, saw some little white boys. They come around. They had heard something. They didn't know what. Some little black boys too. They say you ain't supposed to go to the fair today. They be people, and they just run, and it was just nothing going on because nobody came. But the college choir came down. The big bus came down. The children got on. They got off and marched up the bleachers. They sing like they had a crowd, but wasn't a soul there. And the fair didn't make any money that year. So that's what happened with that. And it was just interesting to, you know, it's like some things just motivate you. You just want to, once you get started, you want to reach at something else.
Could we take a break for a second?
Sure.
We want to take a break for a second, if you don't
Okay.
mind.
Mm-hmm.
And also ask if she what year that they boycotted the fair.
Oh, my
Because
Lord.
in the story, I didn't hear the part that it impacted whites accidentally, because they'd heard the story, they didn't have all the information, but they ended up not going to the fair as well. Do you remember the year that was?
Didn't nobody go to it? There was a few of them out there, but to me, I looked out there and it's just empty. Except, you know, the little stuff they have set up out there.
Was it
And
before
then-
the civil rights workers had come, or after?
No, after.
Okay, so they came in 63, 64. 1963, 64, so it would have been after that.
Okay. Some hair-raising details about crosses being burned on other people's yard. Don't you know someone else who's had a cross burned?
No, just my yard and this Reverend Masco Anderson.
Tell us about the cross being burned in your yard.
Like I say, the children were going out to go to school and they saw it. It's like what they did, they burned the shape of a cross in the grass. And we all just went out to look at it, and the grown people knew what it was like, what it was about. But like my daughter was telling me lately, she said, see, I would hear y'all whispering, y'all, you know, we didn't sit out and really explain to them what we'd hear y'all talking, but all I know, they said when they burn a cross in your yard, it was because white folks, something about white folks didn't like if you get a cross burned in your yard. So that's what she was telling me.
So how did it affect you?
I guess I was that the people take to make them strong and bold, these athletes. I guess I was on a high, and I was just fine with it. Because just had a little fight in me and just ready to go on. But it didn't stop us. And then before that then, I don't know which comes first, it doesn't matter. When they set the shop on fire where we keep the tractors and trucks and things. My daughter went out on the porch one night to do something. And she looked up and she said, "The shop's on fire." And boy, everybody jumped to attention then. My husband had gone to bed. I said, man must have been expecting somebody going to attack him. He jumped out of bed so quick the dude put on his shoes. So he went out there, and the tractor was out there. So what he did, he found a log chain, whatever chain he had, hooked to a tractor, then hooked it to the truck, pulled the truck out across the field, and that's where the truck burned up. And what had happened, somebody had stuffed a rag or something down in the gas tank and set the rag on fire, and that's what was burning. So, but anyway, it caught the truck. Now, if we hadn't seen it, it probably would have got the tractors and everything else. Pulled it out across the field, and that's where it burned up. It did. And like we didn't put in no papers or nothing, so we wasn't doing stuff like that.
And
Mrs. Jackson, wasn't there also an incident where they put sugar in the...
Yeah, now the cotton picker, it locked up. He's working some land way away from home. And when they get through, they just leave it in the field until they get back. So his brother went to the field that morning to, pick cotton. He said before I got there, I could see some tracks. It looked like 4 tractor tracks. So he said, somebody had been up here sniffing out getting gas out of his tank. So that's what he put it to. And he got up there and got on the cotton picker. He said when it got halfway down, pieced down through the field, it stopped. And they say usually you can put sugar in a tank and that'll lock up everything, but they don't know what made it happen. But it locked up. And they didn't have no cotton picker, but he and his brother was good mechanics, learning mechanic on themselves, and they fixed it.
did you ever know who did it?
Never knew who did it.
There were also in an instance, a case of shots being fired at you.
Okay.
Is that tip?
I guess this is what my grandson is saying. I was going home from work one day, and this truck pulled up, and it was coming, but when it got close to me, it slowed down. When it slowed down, some kind of flash went over me. This first time I felt uncomfortable. They followed me just a little while, and after a while, I said, the driver must have changed his mind. The driver pulled off and sped by me, but when he sped by, the man on the passenger side had his little pistol. He shot right across in front of the hood of my car. And I wouldn't tell my husband because I know he's going to get out and try to find who did it, and I didn't want him putting himself in danger like that. A long time before I told him. Didn't tell any of them. Because I go to work every day. He'd been, thinking about me going to work every day.
What year was that?
I'm just so sorry. I don't know.
Did you tell anybody?
Later on, about maybe a month or so later, I told him about it.
Had you heard of things like that happening to other people? Did other people tell you about things like that happening to them?
I heard about the things in Mississippi, you know, the little boy that got killed and stuff like that. And then, well, after that, civil rights workers in Mississippi got killed. I think Myrtle told you about that, or did she?
How did you respond to that?
I knew they was letting me know they didn't like what I was doing. And then I knew I wasn't going to stop doing what I was doing. And that's about it.
Was there any time when your husband came to you with any kind of thoughts that he was having reservations about doing what he was doing?
You know, he never did. We just get up there Thursday and be prepared to do what we had to do. But no.
Not a moment of fear?
I don't remember him talking about being afraid of nothing. But I know I can say this. To get to one of our farms, we had to drive through the white man's property. And so the man told him, three of them told him, don't come back through there. And for a long time, they went like 6 or 7 miles out the way to get to the field when they could get to it like in 30 minutes, the regular. And so one day he came in, we had done that for a long time, I guess maybe a couple of years before. But anyway, when he left one day, he said, well, I'm gone. And he had his pistol, the first time I ever saw him get his pistol. He said, they might get me today, but I think I can get some of them. At least I think I can get some of them. And I think that's when he broke the thing about it, going through this man's field. Didn't nobody ever bother him, though.
How did you feel when he said that to you? They might get me.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can't explain it, but, you know. In my heart, I felt like they ain't gonna get him, but he walked out with his he called it his little piece. And that's the first time he ever mentioned, they might get me today, but I think I can get some of them before because, you know, they're not going to come at you one-on-one. There's always going to be a crowd when they come after you.
One second. Are we going to film at the community center? Are we going
to do some filming at the community center?
Whatever you guys want.
to? I think it'd be nice to get her talking about her work in starting the community center at the community center instead of in here.
We can do both. Why don't we go ahead and do this, and then, you know, maybe when we're there, she can do a sort of a walkthrough, and we can film it there.
Could say something about the
The
center.
community center.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Well,
Can you first of all just describe? Tell me what motivated you to start a community center.
Well, like I say, I wasn't thinking about it. I was sitting at my desk. See, Mid-Delta was housed in that building. I was sitting at my desk, and it just dropped in my spirit. And all it said was something for children. And it stayed there like a couple of months. Just something for children, just something within. Until one morning, Mr. Gail Thrower, the ag teacher, came to my office. And he says, Miss Jackson, I see you all have a room back there that you're not using. and he said, you know, our children haven't got anywhere to go. And I would like to fix it up, you know, where the children have something to do. And I say, boy, God must have sent you here. And we got started from that. His thing was recreation. My thing was education. Because I wanted more Head Starts. I wanted every child in the district to have seen a book before they go to school. And what I did that year, retired teachers, I had about 2, Maxine Hathaway, Annie Mae Smith. And by me, I used to pick up children, take them to Head Start. Then I knew where everybody was. And I went to the different houses, like Mrs. Hathaway took about 3 houses. They would just go and read a book. I said, you all I want to let every child see a book before we go to school. But see, they didn't have, you know, we just did, that wasn't our culture. So when I found the families for them, and they went to these families, did read stories, did the same thing we do at Head Start. And Maxine Hathaway and Annie Mae Smith and Beatrice, I think Beatrice, the executive director did one. But anyway, that's what I wanted. I said, you all, I want to see every child that's going to school to have seen a book before they go, and that's what we did. They would take the little paint and everything, just like we did at Head Start, put the easel, the tree would usually be an easel, and they would, where they do their little painting and stuff, and just read little stories to them, because you'd be surprised that the people never saw a book when they go to school. So that's what I wanted. And I wanted them to have these shots, because there was so many children that didn't go to school. Because you don't have that shot, you can't go to school. And it's so hard for them to get like 30 miles, you know, out there all the time. And so what we did, I got after these teachers, these ladies did the Home Start. And of course I was doing one too. And what we did about the shots, come down, the nurses from Helena would come down to this big raggedy center where it was raining all over. That's what we were in. And they gave them shots. They would come down and give them shots. And then after we founded BGA-CDC, then they got a grant and they built a building onto it. And the staff would come from Helena. And that's how they got everything. They did everything there. They do everything there that they did in Helena.
So just describe the building before you tweaked and massaged it and polished it to turn it into the community center. What did it look like?
It looked pretty good, except wasn't no roof, wasn't no, and of course, wasn't any ceiling in it. That's mostly what this Channel 2 came down and took pictures of it and what we were doing.
So there was no roof? Oh, sure did.
Because I worked in Helena a while. And that's how I got at the center. You're not taping. Oh, well, I'm not ready right now. You know, you got to help me out, so.
You're doing just fine.
Oh, great. Okay, we're rolling.
Okay. When you got the idea to start working on a community center, you were already working with children.
Mm-hmm.
With what agency?
Mid-Delta Community Service.
And tell us a little bit about Mid-Delta Community Service. What did you do there?
The first job I had with Mid-Delta was transporting children to Head Start. I guess I would do like near 40 miles in the morning, 40 in the evening. I was picking up children. going across the fields in different communities, just knocking on the doors and see who was eligible for Head Start.
So how many children did you transport?
15 in one room, 15 in the other, so that's 30 children. And we had to make a couple of trips. And it was kind of not so nice, but I had this station. The gentleman had been out to my house to ask me if I do. They thought I was the only person that they could find in the district that had a station wagon. And they came down and asked me, would I pick up the children for Head Start? My husband said, you can't do that. She's running all over this country. So we turned it down. A little fly on your paper.
Yeah, I don't think the
Priceless.
fly filled out a release form. So-
But anyway, they couldn't find anybody and they came back again. And so he says, go on. And so this first job I had for Mid-Delta was transporting children. And from there, they teaching Head Start.
Tell us a little bit about some of the children who were standouts for you, the children that you will remember for the rest of your life there at that community center.
Now you talking about the Head Start children?
Start with the Head Start children, then talk about the children from your community center. Were there any that...
No, nothing that really stood out.
Nobody that touched your heart in a special way because they...
Well, I tell you, I just thought about this little boy. He's a twin. And in Head Start, he was so disrupted. You know, when you get upset, he would get up and go around the seat. We sit in a circle, like semicircle. He'd get up and go around, tap everybody on the head, hit them, and what I want to get to, he'd get upset and he'd go around and knock the work off the wall. But we found out that he wasn't coming from a comfortable home. We think that was part of it. And so, like when I would take him for field trips, take him for a walk and something like that to cool him off. And so that's about, I forget his name. He's about the one that really stood out. And we had to do home visits, and we found out and talked to the parents. So we didn't have him, but we had him 2 years, because if you come at 4, you could be there 2 years. And that's about it.
Stop for a moment.
That one.
Go ahead, TJ.
See, I thought I'd better bring somebody. Okay, I used to, like you said, picking up children. And one family lived on this white main place. And I had to go down like a little road to get to it, a little turn road. And I'd go there and pick her up. So one day I went to pick her up, and she'd have met me out on the highway with a little boy. I said, what are you doing out here? Our boss told us, the main place to stay on. Our boss told us to tell that lady that's driving that white station wagon to stay off his place. Because I don't want nobody on my place that has something to do with that Martin Luther King. And so she said, well, don't worry, we're going to get off his place. And what impressed me, it was maybe been a little better than a year. I know it's better than a year. They had bought and built their own house. And I didn't have to, and it's good they got me off of that, because after that, I was moved to Head Start teaching, where Home Start. That's where you go into the home and teach them. You do the same thing in the home that you did at school. And so I said, now it's good they got off his place, because when I got to be home start teacher, I had to take all my stuff with me. And then once a month we'd have a parent meeting, and all the houses would meet together at one house. I said, there'd been some black folks moving out, going through the turn road to his field. I said, well, they moved off just in time, so it was just great. Now that's the only I had. I really hadn't forgot about that. And in other words,
The tissue is making noise. But finish your thought.
oh, now where were I? Now I say it was good I moved off the place, because from Head Start, picking up the children, I had to do Home Start. And that's where you go into the home and carry all your material and do the same thing you do at school. I said, now if he hadn't put me off this place, because like I think I had 10 houses that I'd go to. But like once a month, I was required to bring them all together and have a parent meeting. Somebody from the main office would come down and do things. And I said, now, that would have been awful if they had still been on his place, because he sure wouldn't want all of us coming back there to a meeting. Even sometime, like at 12 o'clock, the men would come out the field. They just enjoyed to come out the field and where the Head Start was and see what we were doing. So I enjoyed that with TJ. I'm glad he made me think of that.
Yes, thank you, TJ. Do you have another one?
No,
It just comes up.
yeah.
I want to go way back. Your father's birthplace fascinates me. Where he chose. Where was your father born?
In Arkansas.
Why did he leave Arkansas?
Heard that the grass is greener on the other side of the fence, for a job there. And he worked at the Commonwealth. What do you call it? Commonwealth. It was a factory that he worked at, and they called it Commonwealth.
So, what was his life like here in Arkansas?
He was a farmer.
He was a farmer.
And some of the people started going south, and they told him about, and he liked what they said, and he went up there to try it.
Okay. Your children and your children's children and everyone who knows them will know a little bit about the work that you and your husband did in the movement.
Right.
They'll know a little bit. They'll never know all of it. But what would you say would be the most important thing they need to know about the work you did in the movement?
Things that they would need to know. Except stand up for yourself and, get involved. If the need ever come, I'd like to encourage them to make sure they go to PTA meetings and things like that, because right now we have so many parents. It's not like it used to be. It's hard to get parents to attend the school system. And then
We'd have to wait.
It's Charlie's car.
Whose car?
Charlie. Just my little child.
there's somebody driving your car away.
Without my permission.
Still there.
This is a sensitive moment.
And let me know when I'm doing something wrong, because I had the paper, I didn't know that was wrong, so let me know when
Oh, you're doing wonderfully.
they're all right. Okay.
Do you have any wrap-up questions for here? Because we do need to ask a few questions at the center.
We get to the last one.
Mhm.
That's fine.
I'm going to pose that last question again at the center.
I don't know for a couple I think you can ask there.
They'll have to set all this stuff up when they get to the center. There wouldn't be any problem.
We'll just do camera on the shoulder.
That'll be fine. Yeah, I don't think we need to do a backdrop or anything like that.
So
But it's a nice light place. It's not. It's not.
That's okay.
It's a work though. Okay. Okay, do you want to ask that question again?
What we're going to ask the question again. You gave it a beautiful start, but we lost the end of it to the noise. So, what would you like? Not just your.
okay. Well, with the start, they were children. Some had already gone off to school, like the 4 older ones had gone in the civil rights movement. And I just would like them to be involved, in which most of them are doing, be involved with schools and whatever.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We are going to go over to your community center.
Okay, because I didn't know what to expect. Because I've been to places and I had to just talk, just tell them what I'd done with.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I had put together was different. Let me see if I missed anything that I had planned. But you were out of time, right? So
No.
You want to look at your notes? That's fine.
right, I'm gonna do it. Oh, okay. I guess I'll sit straight and.
Okay.
School integration, when they wouldn't, when the school system was ordered to integrate, and the integration was to be done 3 years. The first year, they was gonna do through the 3rd grade. Then the next year, they was gonna take the grades 4 through 8. Now, they went on and obeyed the first year, the children. And I guess no more than 10 or 12 children, black people. That was such an awful way to integrate. Then you choose whether you want to go back to your school or go to the white school. That's what we had to choose. And so the next year was going to be the 4th through the 8th. And that's when my husband called, that's when they balked. They decided, no way, we just can't go no further. And so the choice form says, if you don't get a choice form, don't go to school at all. Because first we had planned to march, take the children over there. And okay, can I start over? Okay. Now, at a meeting one night, Merle decided that if we could just take our children over there, since they wouldn't send us the choice form, we'd just go anyway. And they had heard that we were coming. Somebody leaked out of the meeting somehow and got to the other folk. And they prepared for us. They covered their school, the whole block around the school. It was cars, trucks was bumper to bumper, 2, 3 men on each truck. You know, these trucks have rifle racks on them. And so the lady said, they heard that y'all was gonna walk to school, gonna come on to school this morning. And they were there prepared for you all, prepared. And so my cousin, she was braver than I, or crazier than I was, however you want to call it. But we said, let's go. And we drove around there, and it was just like she said. from Urban Garage all the way around to the bus shop. Trucks was bumper to bumper with 2-3 men on each one of them, waiting for us when we come through the mall. And I don't know what they planned to do, but that's the way it was. And I would like to say when we were boycotting, and then we had the church we met at, my church. They set up a little library and bought books and things so we could do something while they was out of school. Had children go down to the church and read books and things like that. That's only, like Merle said now, the children got to have something while they out of school, so we was out of school quite a few months there. And so at least we can meet and read books and whatever we know verbally. And I guess
You want to go further with that?
The lawsuit,
That's what happened.
lawsuit.
Okay. I just wondering what happened next.
We're gonna have to continue that story. Okay, so we're gonna talk about what happens next.
what happened next.
And then how what happened next took us to the court action.
Right, okay. Guess I had forget. Okay, and then Mr. Himmelbaum says now, we agreed that we want to go to court. He said, now, but we got to have somebody that, can't set them out of school. We have to have somebody. So my husband said, well, I'll do it. And that's how I got started with him. Because, there wasn't anybody else that was willing to go to court for the school. So he said he would do it.
So describe some of the activity of the court. You went to the courtroom.
Mm-hmm. We had to be there.
Yeah. What was that like?
It was interesting. It was neat. I could say this, we had a good judge that after a couple of days, he ordered them to integrate.
And who was the judge?
Owen Harris, because he'll be in some of those papers. But Owen Harris was the judge, and once he made his decision, he ordered them to integrate. And one thing he says, there will no longer be two buses running down the same route. One bus will pick up white and black. And the school board, they like to jump out of their seat. And that's about it. John Walker was our lawyer.
What was John Walker like?
Real nice. He just had got his, and he had it together. He had just come out of college or law school or whatever. But he did good. He was doing great.
Do you remember what he would say in the courtroom during this case? Remember things?
I sure don't. And the only thing the judge had said was, he would do things like, where do you know the nigger? So a judge and Walker would have him to say it right, have him say Negro, and that was just kind of funny to me. Every time they go out of place, he'd correct them. But I really enjoyed the judge because he ordered them. There will be no problem in Marvell. He said, I'll go to any price to see that there be no problem in Marvell. And
what was the response in the courtroom from?
just us, and wasn't in the audience. But they like to jump out the seat. They jumped and looked at each other. And so when we went on back to school, the buses, they had to stop at them, because you see maybe a white person living here and then a black person there, but see that one bus would come through to pick up the white. And then There's a black bus and a white bus. And we used to watch for the school buses. Let me know when the bus coming. They just say, the bus coming. And they say, white or black? And one day my son say, what is that? One day my son says, when they say, the bus coming, he said, the bus coming, white or black? He said, yellow. That was fabulous.
This has been a presentation of the Library of Congress and the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture.